shonga chuji anji podrana tuksen sanji ganji konyet razme shurka musme tunza par samla namla lamna tsorwate kirba sanji chua shikdanye nyamba drupa shumla tanda sanjine manere dambe chanso lodo jamso shabla sorwate lame josme jamso doje dang shirke kure pama shumla ji shenru jinga kelwe nyuku ye tanda dropa tanjine drupara ho ranjen lame drambe kajela kosme jaro shitru la zohe Rale jana nebre tujoni, tuyo irmi jivara shinji lo. May all the benefits of these practices go to all beings, so that all beings may, until all beings have been freed from all pain and all suffering and all its causes, that they may have happiness and all its causes, that they may never be separated from the great happiness, devoid of suffering, that they may forever dwell in the great equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. To sacred Bodhisattva, the precious and excellent mind, where it is not, may it arise, where it is, may it never decline, consistently growing, rising higher and higher. So we're raising bodhicitta to benefit countless suffering sentient beings. And we carry on these teachings of Togme Zampo, these incredible teachings, the 37 practices of a bodhisattva. Now I want to start with reading the verse first. We're doing verse 8. The practice of all bodhisattvas is never to commit a harmful act, even though not to do so might put one's very life at risk. For the sage himself has taught how negative actions will ripen into the manifold miseries of the lower realms, so difficult to endure. Today, really, this verse is about cause and effect. If we really help other people, then happiness arises within us, and happiness arises much more easily. But if we shout at people, we argue with people, we cheat people, we hurt people, then we go to sleep. It's a little bit difficult to sleep. We toss and turn, we can't sleep at night. And if I sing for you as well, maybe you're also going to toss and turn at night. If we do things for others, and we put in a lot of effort to do it, we take a lot of care, a lot of time, generally other people are going to be happy and they'll appreciate it. If we do a lot for ourselves, and we'll also be happy. If we do a lot for ourselves, then there's no guarantee we're going to be happy. We could really work hard towards something, and the end result could be unhappiness. It could be happiness as well. And if we're happy, how long are we going to be happy for? A long time, a short time? How soon are we going to be looking for something else? We have all of these expectations, and all of these expectations, they cause us many, many problems. Are our expectations realistic? Are our expectations realistic for other people as well as for ourselves? People spend their whole life chasing their expectations, chasing things. Even until their dying day, they're still busy making plans. It's time to face this moment of death, and they're still planning. It's important to care for ourselves. We still have to eat, we still have to sleep, we still have to have, or it's better to maintain good health. We still need clothes to wear. But after that, how much of this do we need? The rest we can wish for the benefit of others. Really wish to benefit others. So, it is important to look after ourselves, but there's a difference in how we look after ourselves. Do we use intelligence or wisdom to look after ourselves? You might think that this is the same thing. It depends on our definition of what we think is intelligence and what we think is wisdom. I'll say intelligence is what people do with worldly affairs. People are very good maybe at earning money, or very good at having fame or reputation. They might be very, very successful with relationships. But they don't use wisdom in their life. So wisdom would be what we call maybe practicing love and kindness and compassion, generosity, patience, forbearance, being disciplined, doing positive things, usually centered around the benefit of others. And just being intelligent might be we work very hard for ourselves, or we work also to benefit others, but there's also a lot of self-cherishing and a lot of concern for yourself included as well. People think that everything's going to be okay. I'm not going to have problems. So while things are okay, this intelligence works. We're doing well materially, relationship-wise, fame and fortune. But then, as generally does happen, things do go wrong. How many people do we know that nothing has gone wrong? You know people, you hear of people, very wealthy, suddenly economy changes, politics changes, another country declares war on your country. Suddenly things change, things do go wrong. You've good health, suddenly your health changes. You're in a fantastic relationship, suddenly your partner, there's problems. Or you are creating problems and your partner's unhappy, you are dissatisfied, or your partner's dissatisfied. Out of the blue. Sometimes you see it happening. And then people's minds can't cope. They find it very difficult to cope. They thought it would never happen to them. And then suddenly, because they don't have this wisdom to use in daily life, they really, really suffer. And it really affects them badly. Often they're unhappy, they have depression. Sometimes people even commit suicide. So, it's good to do things for yourself, but you use wisdom. When we speak about wisdom, do things to benefit others. If you benefit others, in fact, you benefit yourself. If you do things to benefit others, if you care about others, you consider others, if you respect others, generally people approve. People feel comfortable about it. But if you're always doing things just for yourself, selfish, only concerned with your own goals, often what happens is other people get hurt, other people are unhappy, and people don't always approve. Then often problems arise. So when you're benefiting others, not only do you feel happier, not other people feel happier, they approve, but also you're creating this habit again and again. You're doing this, so it becomes easier and easier. And because it becomes easier and easier, it happens more naturally, the scope of it becomes greater, and the people around you are also happier. And then it comes back as well. And if you do things selfishly, then your mind becomes narrower and narrower.
thinking more only about yourself. You forget when you're successful how many people helped you, how many people contributed.
You forget the gratitude towards them. You think it's all because of my hard work. You forget that maybe you have good fortune. Other people have gone out their way to help you. Sometimes people, they do many dishonest things to be successful. Sometimes they cheat people. They lie to people. Misrepresent themselves. If you only think of yourself, sometimes it affects your relationship. People think that you're very selfish. Also, what happens as well is the more and more you just think about yourself, your mind becomes narrow and narrow. All you're thinking about is your thoughts. What's going to make me happy? And you see, this is when problems arise, when things happen. You see, sometimes people put so much into their work, and then they get retrenched maybe. And then there's great suffering. They take it personally. They think it's somebody, a thing against them. Often the suffering that people experience because of retrenchment is not the lack of money, or the loss, or the less material. It's that self-esteem, their self-worth, all the ideas, all of these afflictions that go on in their head and their minds, making them unhappier and unhappier. Relationships as well, as we said. Suddenly a relationship goes sour, things go badly. People think, what did I do wrong? I'm so insufficient. They have a lot of anger and blame towards the other people, a lot of unhappiness. It happens because our mind is narrow. We only see, I'm suffering. And sometimes, maybe the problem's not so big, but to us it feels so big because this is what's dominating our mind. Our mind is narrow. This is all we see. When this happens, people become more and more unhappy, more depressed. They no longer see the beautiful world around them. They no longer see all the good qualities of everybody else. They no longer maybe just breathe in the air and think, how fortunate I can breathe today. Thank you. How fortunate I have food today. Thank you. Their mind becomes so unhappy, so involved in their unhappiness, that their food doesn't have taste anymore. They don't sleep anymore. The mind is just going and going and going. No rest, no sleep, no happiness, or less and less and less. And they really feel like on this side is a big cliff and this side is a precipice, and they're just walking on this narrow path with people surrounding them. Like in the video games, people coming, all attacking, nowhere to go. And then sometimes people do, they commit suicide. They get lost like this. Even if things are really bad, we think they're bad, but often other people's problems are much bigger than ours. We compare our problems to other people. In reality, ours might not be so big. And also, we can go and help other people. We can go and do things for other people. Maybe in the beginning it's difficult, but when we help, we learn skills, we make other people happy, we get a sense of value. They're happier, it comes back. You never know what opportunities it brings. But also you have a sense of self-worth. You can benefit others, you can benefit society. But this is also difficult because our mind no longer sees the scope anymore. So it's very important, all of these troubles, how these afflictive emotions make us so unhappy. Or the practice of benefiting others can be something that can really make us happy. Sometimes we help people and they don't give back. That's okay. If we get upset about it, it's because maybe we still have some conditionality in there. We're helping because we want it back. And then we don't get it back. We're not appreciated, so we feel unhappy. If you really help, try and just give help for the sake of helping, not for any recognition or any return. So what we've done in the first 7 verses is we've spoken about precious human life, a few fundamentals about Buddhism, why we're practicing, about transforming our mind, about suffering and our afflictive emotions. We've spoken about impermanence, the importance of having a teacher and our environment. So these are things that to set us on the path, a preparation. Just like if we want to go to some special teachings, maybe in some great monastery, there's going to be a great teacher teaching. We want to attend these teachings. So we have to see, how do I get there? How do I travel there? How much time do I need? Do I have to take extra clothes, extra food, extra resources? We prepare, and then we buy the ticket, and then we go. So this is helping us with the preparation, these verses. Now we're starting to talk, as we said, about cause and effect. So this preparation, it's like plowing, having a field. So first, if you want to grow crops, you need a field. On the field, you need to be able to remove the weeds. You need something, maybe you need a plow, something to prepare the ground. You need to know the water. What's the environment? When's the best time to plant? And then you can plant. It's the same principle. Preparing so that we start onto this path of practicing the Dharma. And we see that there's so much, there's the different realms. In Precious Human Life, we spoke about the 6 realms. There's the hell realm, the ghost realm, animal realm, human realm, the demigods or asuras, and the gods. How did these realms come about? Through causes. It's the result of cause and effect. The hell realms, the hungry ghost realms, incredible suffering. Why? Because of their anger and their stinginess, their hurtfulness of hurting others, causing other people unhappiness. And they're there for a long time. And because they're there, because of the suffering, they don't think to practice. It's very difficult to practice. Imagine some people have migraines. And the migraines are so powerful or so strong. It's too powerful even for a thought to arise, to think about anything. Now you multiply that by 100 times or 1,000 times. And then think about practicing. It'll be a little bit difficult, won't it? Or if you're starving, but you've been starving for 100 years. So it's very difficult for them to practice. In the animal realm, we talk first the gods. The gods have all of these luxuries. Many people say, I'd like to go to the god realm. But it's better to be in the human realm. Okay? Because there's really the best conditions to practice. In the god realm, everything's so good. They don't think to practice. They have a great time. Also live long human years. Long time. But eventually, it runs out. It's like anything. If you put money in the bank, you've created good causes, you've done many good things, you've got this opportunity to be, you've ended up in the God realm. But eventually those causes are going to run out. That result is going to run out. Just like you put money in the bank, eventually you slowly take from it. Eventually the balance is going to come to nothing. So that good merit runs out. And just before this happens, the gods see, whoa, they can see into the future. They see, wow, I've wasted this opportunity. I didn't practice. I didn't use it to benefit others. And so they experience great suffering, great remorse. The other gods also, they can smell that this person is coming to the end, and they ignore them a lot more. And so they experience great suffering, and then they go to the lower realms. The demigods, they're jealous. They have more than the humans. A lot more, but they don't have as much as the gods. So, out of jealousy, they fight with the gods. They can't conquer the gods. The gods are much more powerful. So although they have so much, they're consumed by this jealousy, by fighting wars, trying to get what the gods have. Animals, there's so much suffering. Okay, we look at the dogs and the cats and we think, there's a little cat over here playing around, running around. So we think this is a great life. This is what we think is so nice. But in reality, this is only a small minority of the animals. And they don't have freedom. They don't have that wisdom to practice. You can teach them Dharma for a long time. They're still not going to remember the sutras and recite them. So for this life, they're stuck in this body as an animal. And they get special treatment. Their owners buy them vegetarian tasting food. Seen in the shelves, it says vegetarian flavor dog food. If you were a dog, oh, wouldn't you just love to have vegetarian flavored dog food? So in reality, how much freedom do they have? Mental freedom. And also, they left at home. How much freedom do they have? Might look like a great life, but really, how great is it? And this is the good part. And then you look at the animals in the wild. They're either being hunted, they fight between each other. Look at the insects. Insects are eaten by spiders. Spiders are eaten by birds. Birds are eaten by cats. Cats are challenged by bigger animals. So they fear for their lives. There's a lot of suffering. We damage our environment, chopping down trees. Why? To raise cattle, to raise sheep, to raise livelihood, livestock. For what purpose? Out of love and kindness? Or to make a profit? Imagine the suffering. Imagine you are sent to the abattoir, and for your whole life, all that the people are looking at is, oh, you're going to be a great meal. Oh, I'm going to make a lot of money out of you. And the suffering of being slaughtered and being fed. People say they do it for health. Most people are really eating meat to satisfy their own taste buds, not for health. There might be a small element of health, but these days they put in so many hormones and so many antibiotics. So how many animals are slaughtered every day? So much suffering on this world. Chickens left in their cages, their nails cut, their beaks cut. Nowhere to move. Laying eggs. So great suffering. Really consider this. There's really great suffering in samsara. And then the human realm. And this is the best place. The best to practice the Dharma, because you have enough suffering to make you want to change, and enough happiness or freedom so that you can change. This is for many people. Not everybody. Some people are slaves. Some people really don't have this opportunity also. But also there's a lot of suffering. Walk around, look at people. How many people are walking around really happy, free of afflictive emotions? How many people walk around consumed by their thoughts, unawares of this world, lost in their thoughts? And how many of those are really happy, positive thoughts? Not many. How many thoughts do you have every day thinking of benefiting others? How many of them are selfish, thinking about your own concerns? How did all of this come about? Causes. You created the causes, so now you are in this position. Cause and effect. Okay, nothing happens without a cause. If you didn't have the cause, you couldn't have the result. So we'll talk a little bit later about reincarnation and this a little bit later. It's very important to treat others well. If you treat others well, they're happy. They're happy to see you. They feel comfortable around you. They feel good around you. So there you see, cause and effect. You treat people well, somebody treats you well, what happens? Plant a seed in your mind stream. The next time you see them 1 month, a year later, you're happy to see them. But if you're shouting at people, you're moaning at people, hurting people, are they going to be happy to see you? Are they going to be happy to be around you? It also plants a seed. Somebody does this to you in your mind stream. You remember. Next time you see that person, you avoid them. Maybe you attack them. Maybe you've got a very short temper with them. Something's planted, cause and effect. So you plant those seeds. So where does cause and effect start? It starts in our mind. Just as we said now, plants those seeds. The seeds are in our mind. So in our mind, we have positive thoughts and we have negative thoughts. Positive, what we call positive, is to benefit others. Negative is selfish. From selfish, ignorance, comes attachment of anger, pride and jealousy. These thoughts have energies. And those energies grow, then they become action. What we say and what we do starts with our mind. It starts with those thoughts. We all have these energies, just with certain people, because of their training, because of their mindset. Some it's more positive, others it's more negative. Sometimes the negative is stronger than the positive and vice versa, just like the example of the wolf. You've got two wolves, one positive and one negative on your shoulder. Which one's the bigger? The one that you feed the most. So what are we feeding the most? The negative energies or the positive energies? If you're happy or not, where is it happening? It's happening in your mind stream. And where does this come from? It comes from our past habits. We've cultivated these habits. And now, because of past lives, because of what we've done previously in our youth, these habits have become stronger. They become more prevalent. Habits of anger. The more we practice anger, the stronger, the better we get at being angry. So if you're often angry when you're younger and you don't go to anger management, it's very possible that your anger is very strong afterwards. It's like smoking as well. You have 1 cigarette, 5 cigarettes, 10 cigarettes. Then you have that habit, drives you forward. Then you have another cigarette. But before you were 14 or 15, did you smoke? Maybe not. Or 6 or 7. Didn't need it. But now you have this habit, this energy, this force that encourages you or drives you to have another one. Another one. You just reach for another cigarette. Another beer. Another bout of anger or jealousy. So where are these all coming from? Where are these thoughts coming from? Where is this energy coming from? It's coming from your mind. It comes from the true nature of mind. Your inherent nature, this Buddha nature. Then it arises. So it's like, but we don't see this true nature of mind. All we see are these appearances, these thoughts, these moving thoughts. But it's arising from the true nature of mind. It's like an electric wire. You see an electric wire, it's got electricity in, but you don't see the electricity. But it's there. You have connected to a bulb. You turn on the bulb and the light comes out because there's electricity. The bulb is not the electricity and the electricity is not the bulb. I mean, the light is not the bulb and the bulb is not the light. But without the bulb, there couldn't be light. So as well, in that electric cord, there's that electricity. You don't see it, but from there the light comes. Goes into the bulb and the light comes. So, just like we can't see, we don't see this true nature of mind. But from it, these thoughts arise. These energies are positive or negative. So initially, these thoughts don't have a positive or negative. It's just how we, according to our habits, how we follow them, how we entertain them, how we attach to them or get involved in them. It's just like metal. Maybe you have some metal. Metal is neither positive or negative. But from that metal, we can make a knife. With that knife, we can go and hurt other people, harm other people. Similarly, with that metal, we can make a mandala and we can do practices. We can use that metal in some way to benefit others. So the metal as a knife there, hurting others has become negative. Benefiting others has become positive. But initially the metal didn't have positive or negative. It's just determined by how we used it, what we made from it, and then how we used it. So that's the same. These energies arise. So what we must learn to do is have this awareness to transform the negative let it rest. Don't entertain it. And the positive, really help it grow, nurture it, benefit others. To do this, we need to have awareness. We need these instructions from our teacher. Where does this all start? It starts with our motivation. What is our motivation? Is it positive or negative? What is our intention? Most important, it's determined by that intention, that motivation. Most important, positive, benefit others. Negative, self-cherishing. The 5 poisons, the 5 afflictions, discriminating mind. Getting involved with our jealousy, our attachment, our greed, our pride, and our anger. And this is the difference between a practitioner and a non-practitioner. A yogi. A yogi has negative thoughts, has positive thoughts. Practitioner, a non-practitioner, has positive thoughts, has negative thoughts. The difference is the yogi has that awareness. As the thought arises, if it's negative, he liberates it. If it's positive, he decides to carry it on or not. Or decides, okay, I'm going to think about this, and this is what I follow with. The practitioner or non-practitioner, the non-practitioner, as that thought arises, it's positive, maybe they go with it for a while. It's negative, they go with it for a while. They live in that appearance of that thought. They attach to it and they get involved in it. So they don't liberate it. So they get caught up in all of these emotions, all of these discriminations. That's the difference. If we're not practicing, those energies arise and then they become, as we said earlier, actions of our body and speech, driven by this energy from our mind. So we practice again, transforming again and again. What are these energies? They're planting these seeds. As you said earlier, they're leaving that imprint in our mind stream. And this is going to get energy, which may then later become results of speech, body, speech, and mind. And when that becomes fruition, then we have to experience the suffering of it, or the joy of it. So the best is, don't plant those seeds. How do we not plant those seeds? As that negative thoughts arises, as it arises, let it go. Liberate it. Then it doesn't plant any seeds. But if it carries on to the next, again we think about it, it starts to plant those seeds. And then as soon as we say something or we do something in our body, physical action, then that seed becomes very strong. It's like planting it in fertile seed and land. The more fertile the conditions are, the more chance it has to grow, and quickly, and with more fruit, extra fruit. So whatever we plant is what we get. If you plant mangoes, then you get mango trees. You get mango fruit. You don't get strawberries. You don't get weeds. Unless you consider mangoes as weeds. Similarly, if you plant thorn bushes, you get thorns. And you get the fruit of thorns, or the seeds of thorns. So whatever our motivation is, this is what is going to bring about the result. If it's a negative motivation, it's going to bring about a negative result, negative fruit. But nobody else will have to experience except for ourselves. We will have to experience it ourselves. Nobody else. Nobody can substitute us for it. And so that's why it's so important to watch what is going on in your mind. What is arising. If it's negative, let it go, and as soon as possible. And as they say, even at the cost of your life, you might think, this is a bit extreme. I want to carry on living. I want to transform. I've got so many things to do, so many plans. I still have to have one last beer with this person or that person. The cost of your life. Why? Because If you stop it now, you stop planting those seeds. If you don't plant those seeds, then they're not going to grow that type of fruit. So if you don't plant negative seeds, you're not going to give the chance to grow negative fruit. So we do this, but of course, you still experience suffering. Why? Because all of our past seeds that we've planted are now coming, ripening. But we're not creating any more. We're clearing that field and we're planting positive seeds. Gradually transform these habits. These habits really cause a lot of karma, a lot of negative arising thoughts. I'm so used to this. And when it's not like this, then we become unhappy. Emotions arise, or discrimination arises. Cause and effect. And we talk about don't do negative, do positive. Transform your own mind. This is the teaching of Buddha. So important. Don't do negative, do positive. Cause and effect. Negative brings suffering, positive brings happiness, joy. Love and kindness. And then transform your own mind. Transform. Get to know the nature of your mind. Liberate those thoughts, those negative ones. Transform them. We speak about the 10 negatives and the 10 positives. Most of the religions have some kind of don't do's. So over here, there's a don't do. Best is do. But if you can't do, then don't do. Benefit others, but if you can't benefit others, at least don't harm them. So we say, don't, if you can, protect life. Save life. Do animal liberations. Incredible benefit. And if you can't, then at least don't harm life, don't kill. Best is be generous. If at least you can't be generous, then don't steal. Don't take what is not given. Be honest and faithful in your relationships. Best don't commit adultery or get into extramarital affairs. Tell the truth, don't lie. Best is to speak good things about people, don't slander. Best is only talk about things that are worthwhile, otherwise keep quiet. Don't get involved in idle talk, don't talk in rough ways. Speak well. Speak gently. And then don't covet, don't be angry, and don't have the wrong views. In Buddhism, the worst is to have the wrong view. Killing is bad, but the wrong view is the worst. Why? Because if you have the wrong view, you push yourself further and further away from attaining liberation. It becomes more and more difficult. But if you've killed, once you've repaid that karma, once you've purified that karma, or you do many opposite, you benefit many lives, that'll come to an end. You still at least can be on the path to liberation. So keep the right views. Practice the Dharma. Keep views of great kindness and of great generosity. So, why do they teach us these? Many people don't understand. When we're young, we say, he's trying to control me. Tell me not to do this, not to do that. Get very unhappy. But why? As an example is, let's say, I'll use a very extreme example, to kill. One is that Buddha says, if you kill, you're going to have to repay 500 lives. So if you're a betting person, or even just a little bit of logic, it doesn't pay to take one life and have to pay back 500. It's just not equal at all, so rather don't do it at all. But let's say you kill somebody. One, you start to think about killing them. This is generally what happens. You start to plot about this. So there's suffering, there's unhappiness. Then you kill them, you feel satisfied for a while. But then what happens? then the suffering starts, and a lot of suffering. Sometimes you feel great regret, a lot of suffering. You know, like you shout at somebody, you feel better, but after a while you think, why did I do that? Why did I say that? And then, because you killed somebody, those people that loved that person, they're very unhappy. They don't like you. They might harm you, cause a lot of trouble for you. Maybe you get caught by the police. You have to have law cases. Go to the court. It costs a lot of money, a lot of suffering, a lot of time there. Looking at the other people, the relatives of the person you killed. A lot of suffering. Maybe you go to jail. Again, years and years of suffering. Unnecessary. If you didn't kill the person, none of this you wouldn't have get involved. Waste so much money. Waste so much of your life. Unhappily. If you don't get caught, still, that's in your mind. You might really regret it one day. Or you might be sitting there. At home, 10 years later, 5 years later, you hear a knock on the door. There's police at your door. You start to think, have they found me? They're coming here. They're coming to get me. But you open the door and the police says, oh, there's a problem down the road. Please be careful. See, still in your mind, there's still this suffering, this anguish, this worry. So just for that event, there's all of the suffering afterwards. So you see, this is why they tell us, don't do these things. Of course, the opposite, it's quite self-explanatory. You benefit others, you save their lives, you help them. Great benefit, great gratitude. If you were a cow in the abattoir, in the line, or anybody, let's say even human, and somebody was going to slaughter you, somebody came to save you, how grateful would you be? Little cat playing with my notes. So, if we had a crystal ball as well, would we do the things we're going to do if we saw it happened in the future? Or if we remembered our past lives? If we remembered, oh, I was a sheep, and somebody came and slaughtered me because they wanted to have a barbecue or a braai. And the suffering, would we eat meat again? If we remembered what we felt like, so, whoa, okay, I'm not going to cause anybody else that suffering. So it's quite sad that we don't remember what happened before. We might stop a lot of problems and a lot of suffering. If we had a crystal ball, we probably wouldn't get involved with so many things because we would see the suffering it would cause. So we all have this potential. Every moment, watch every arising thought. Every arising thought has the potential to plant those seeds, positive or negative. So if you have awareness, the more and more your awareness is, the better, the more chance you have it to catch it early. Of course, in the beginning it's difficult because we're so caught up and influenced still by our old habits. The winds of our own habits, of our old karma, blow us in that direction. But we can get better and better. So important every moment to have that awareness, that mindfulness. As Patrul Rinpoche said, always keep what? Keep your mindfulness and awareness. So important. Every moment arises, everything changes, every moment brings an opportunity. So it's very important with that awareness, what, or without the awareness, what latencies, what seeds are we planting in our mind? With that awareness, we have more chance to change. So important. And it takes time to change. It's like the example of the pothole. You walk down the road, you fall down a pothole. Who left this lid open? Where am I? You're lost. It takes you a long time to get out. Who's to blame? Who left this pothole open? The next day you go down the road, you fall down the pothole again. This time you get out a bit quicker. Who's to blame? Who did this? Again. Some people are unbelievable. Happens a few times and then you fall in the pothole and then you say, wow, I'm to blame. You get out quicker. Why didn't I watch where I was going? It's my fault. It's no longer anybody else's fault. Eventually, after a while, you say, oh, I remember there's that pothole. We watch where we go. We don't go down this road again. We go down another road, or we avoid the pothole. So it takes time, it takes practice. It really takes time to change these habits of ours. And take responsibility. Everything comes about because of causes. We ourselves have created these causes. And as a result, we're experiencing these. So if you really practice cause and effect, you understand it. We start to take responsibility for what's happening in our own lives. We treat everybody else with love and kindness. And we realize the situations we experience is because of the causes we created before. Let's dedicate these merits. First, we dedicate in the greatest of gratitude to our perfect teachers, to Gyaltsen Nyugu Rinpoche, to Achok Lama, Trulga Arik Rinpoche, all perfect teachers. And by this merit and all the merits of all beings from beginningless time to endless time. Sonam deye tamja dzapani, tobnye nyepe dranang kaje, geka nache balang trupai, tsebu tsoli droa sho.